All right. Let's see. Good morning. Mr. Brown, would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number.
Matthew Brown, DOC number 112575, ma'am.
And counsel, would you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, Madam Chairman, my name is Amy Myers. I'm a staff attorney with the Louisiana Parole Project, and with the board's permission, I wish to make a very brief statement at the outset, at the beginning if possible, and a very brief statement at the end.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Let me recognize Mr. Brown. We also have Carrie Myers from the Parole Project, Kim Hawkins and Annette Crittenden, who will be speaking on your behalf. Also, there with you also is Mark Brown and Tonda Brown, who are here in support. First, let me just read some identifying information into the record. Then we'll hear from Ms. Myers. Then I'll turn it over to Mr. Marabella. Your case has been assigned to him. So, Mr. Brown, you're seeking a commutation of your sentence. You're currently serving 2 life sentences that are running consecutively. You were sentenced in November 1985, 2 counts second-degree murder and 22nd JDC in Washington Parish. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Right, Ms. Myers?
Yes, ma'am. As Matthew and I began preparing for this hearing, one thing that came into clearer focus in the last week is, and that I believe that I didn't adequately highlight in the brief, is that Matthew has some limitations in his ability to think abstractly and to remember things and express complex ideas. And he failed the 5th and 9th grades in the Bogalusa public school system. And his sister, who's 7 years younger, used to help him with his homework. I just want to flag this to the board in the hope that you'll not interpret his simplistic way of speaking as a lack of understanding of how awful and violent the 2 crimes that he committed were. He's expressed a lot of remorse during our meetings together. Matthew's transformation is apparent to all the officials who regularly place their trust in him at Camp F. And through his vocation of baking, Matthew's found his place in the world, a way to bring joy and happiness and to serve others. And he's been humbled and healed through his sentence, and he's made incredible progress since he came before this honorable board in 2017. Thank you.
Thank you. And let me acknowledge we also have Mr. Clark from the DA's office here in opposition from him at the appropriate time. Mr. Brown, would you answer Mr. Marabella's questions, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Mr. Brown. It's still morning. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, sir. I'm doing fine, sir. How are you?
I'm doing fine. My name is Tony Marabella. I'm going to ask you a few questions. If you have any trouble hearing me or understanding what I'm asking me, just ask me to repeat it or change it up so where we can have a conversation, okay?
All right, sir.
How old are you, Mr. Brown? How old are you, sir?
61, sir.
And how long have you been in prison on these charges?
I'd say about 38 years, sir.
By my calculations, and maybe I don't add very well, you were 23 years old when this happened?
Correct, sir. Yes, sir.
Tell me about who Matthew Brown was at 23 years old. Were you working?
Yes, sir. I was working. I was working at
Okay.
this. I was working at Walmart, a construction company in Bogalusa.
Okay. And what kind of work were you doing?
Concrete, pouring concrete.
And how long had you been doing that kind of work?
I've been doing it for about, I'd say about 7 years.
Tell me a little bit about your education. How far did you go in school?
I graduated out of high school, sir. Graduation.
Graduated high school?
Yes, sir.
Where'd you graduate from?
Bogalusa High School. Washington Parish.
Where were you living? Where were you living at 23 years old? Where were you living at? Who were you living with?
I was still living with my mother them at the time.
So explain, let's talk first off about the killing involving Miss Bevelina Brown, which occurred on July the 12th of 1985. Tell me what happened.
Well, Bevelina Brown, she was like a sex worker, and I come by her house, and we had got in an argument, sir. And she pulled a knife out on me. I panicked and I grabbed her in a chokehold and her body went limp. I picked her up, I put her in the bed and I choked her again, Your Honor, and then I left.
Why? Tell me what was going on with you. Why did you do that?
I was angry, sir. I had problems with my anger issues, Your Honor. And when
Okay.
she pulled that knife, this anger just took control of me.
Well, 2 days later, what happened with Ms. Regina Jackson?
2 days later, Your Honor, I met her in a club. We met up at the club, we left together. We went somewhere, we had sex. We got in an argument, Your Honor. And we got out of the car and I beat her and
What was the argument about?
we was arguing about some pieces that we was during the time we was having sex. She I didn't know she had a lube valve. I get upset. We get in an argument. We get out the car, I grab her around the neck, I push her back real hard. And her head hit the pavement, the concrete, real hard. And I didn't even go back to check on her or call the police, Your Honor. I started to call the police, Your Honor, about the situation, but I was afraid, and I left.
Mr. Brown, your statements about this incident involving Miss Regina Jackson, you indicated all along, this is the first time I'm hearing you talk about having consensual sex. Your statement indicated that she wanted to have sex, you didn't want to have sex, y'all got in an argument, and that's what happened. And now you're saying you had consensual sex with her. Why the different stories?
Well, Your Honor, back then back in 2017, Your Honor, I was saying that I didn't do it, did this and did that because I was in denial at the time, Your Honor. I just wanted, tell the truth about what happened.
Well, I hear what you're saying, but you gave a statement on October the 20th of 2022 regarding Regina Brown. We met in a club, she asked for a dance, we danced, she wanted sex and I wanted to go home. She brought me to a parking lot for sex. We argued in the car because I wanted to go home, she wanted to have sex, and I killed her. I mean, now you're saying, now your lawyer wrote in her brief that you had consensual sex, but you've never said that before. Why the difference?
Your Honor. Yeah, I just, just wanted to tell you the truth, and it did,
What is the truth?
that we did have consensual sex. All right. And I did.
And so why did you kill her? Because you got in an argument. What are y'all arguing about?
Beverly and Brown, you were arguing about payment.
Was what? Payment.
The first, Regina Jackson,
Now-
when
He wants to know about Regina, what you guys were arguing about.
I accept the fact that you and
Regina,
Ms. Brown were arguing about money. That's what you said. You said that before. But with reference to Miss Regina Jackson, you said she wanted to have sex. You just wanted to go home. Y'all got in an argument and you killed her. Now, all of a sudden, you had consensual sex, and then afterwards, you hadn't gotten a fight and you killed her. I mean, you killed her either way. But why lie about the consensual sex, and now all of a sudden you're changing your mind? As late as October the 20th of 2022, you were still sticking with the story that she wanted to have sex with you. You didn't want to. That's what y'all got in a fight about. And now all of a sudden you had consensual sex, something happened afterwards and y'all got in an argument. What is it? Then why the law?
That would have happened. We had consensual sex. We had gotten an argument, Your Honor. And no, I have no idea, made a mistake and told him that I did what I said I did back in 2087, but I wanted to go home. But the truth was we did have sensual sex, you know? And I wound up killing
Why
him.
is this the first time you're saying that?
He wants to know why this is the first time he's saying this.
Because, Your Honor, I'm telling the truth, you know? Back
Like
then,
you tell the truth before. I mean, you've been in prison for a long time. 2022 was just last year, and you still said we never had, she wanted sex, I didn't want to have sex. We got in an argument and I killed her. Now that's 2 women you've killed over sex. Do you have sexual issues?
well, Your Honor, not,
You have sexual issues.
no, Your Honor, I don't have sexual issues, Your Honor.
Now you've murdered 2 women involving sex. One, you say she wanted it, you didn't. Now you're saying you had consensual sex with her. Have you ever taken any kind of sex offender program while you've been in prison?
No, Your Honor.
Have you, as you've been in prison, tell me what thought you've given to why you killed these 2 women? What have you come up with to rationalize or to understand why you did what you did?
Well, Your Honor, I'm just, sorry for what I did. I don't know.
Well, I hear you being sorry. You're in prison. I'd be sorry too if I was in jail for something I did. My question to you is, do you know or can you comprehend, understand in your own heart why you did this?
I don't know why I did it, Your Honor. I'm sorry that I did it. So,
You've taken some programs while you've been in there. Have you taken anything involving victim awareness?
yes, Your Honor. Victim awareness, anger management.
Have you taken anything that would assist you in helping you understand why you did what you did?
Yes, sir.
So tell me, what conclusions have you reached as to why you did this? I mean, we're talking about a very short period of time, very similar type murders.
Right. I did it. I did it, Your Honor, because I was angry and upset, Your Honor. Anger just took control of me, and I didn't mean to do it.
Well, you say you didn't mean to do it. Now, these aren't accidents.
Right.
I mean, these are vicious murders.
Yes, sir.
So this isn't where you just, somebody slipped, fell, hit their head on the concrete and died. I mean, you brutally murdered both of these ladies.
Yes, Your Honor.
You drinking?
No, sir.
Were you using drugs?
No, Your Honor. No alcohol, no drugs, Your Honor.
In all the time you've been in prison, you haven't been able to come to a conclusion as to why you did this, other than you were angry?
Yes, Your Honor.
What have you done to correct that anger or to be able to deal with that anger?
I took classes, Your Honor. I took Thinking for a Change, anger management, and it helped me to learn how to control my anger. It learned me how to see things in a different way. If I see something developing.
Let me ask you this. Did it give you any insight as to why you got so angry at the first lady, who was the sex worker who y'all were arguing over money? Did it give you any insight why you got so angry with her that you killed her in such a fashion?
Well, Your Honor, I was, she pulled a knife out on me and I just got angry and just grabbed her and put her in a chokehold. Next thing I know, her body turned and went limp. I can't say.
And next lady, she didn't pull any knife on you. Why did you kill her? I'm just trying, you can't undo what you did.
Right,
My job today is to try to figure out if you understand what you did, why you did it, and you won't do it again. So I'm trying to determine what, if anything, you've learned about your crime and what caused you to do that and how you've been able to rehabilitate yourself. So can you answer that for me?
well, Your Honor, I did, well, when I was coming up, Your Honor, I did have some difficult problems, in my family. And
Well, tell me about these problems. What kind of problems?
well, number one, my brother had died, and I was upset because his dad, he got killed. My daddy, he grabbed me and choked me one night and wanted to punch me in the face. He was angry for some reason. In my schooling, I wasn't that good at school, and I was angry and upset because I was slow in class, Your Honor. And so I had so much little different type of anger issues as when I was coming up. So when my anger just, but now since I've been in Angola and incarceration, I done learned a lot about out of self-programming that helped me a lot to understand, how to control my anger instead of making the issue, the situation worse. I learned to just walk away, think before you act. I done learned a lot of that now. Back then, I was young.
Well, Mr. Brown, besides these two murders, what other times did you get angry and hurt somebody? I mean, these were boom, boom, right away, and they both involved sex. So I'm concerned about there may be some correlation between these murders and sex offending. So that's why I'm asking you this. Now, are these the only two times you got so mad you beat someone up and killed them in this very short time?
No, Your Honor, I can remember when I was younger, when I was in school, they used to have this little boy in school, the bullies, you always beat him up and jump on him. So I jumped in and helped him, helped the little fella out because he was being bullied by the other bigger guys. And that was the third time. That was the only time I really had got angry. Other than times, Your Honor, my anger, I knew how to control my anger now, Your Honor. I haven't been angry since.
Tell me how you control your anger. Tell me what you learned that would make me comfortable in voting to give you some relief today.
Well, Your Honor, I learned how to, before I could detect that something is about to occur. If anger is about to flare up, Your Honor, I could now I'm able to detect it, and I understand how to walk away, and agree with this person.
How you would detect? I mean, you're kind of reiterating to me things that are on paper. What's in your heart? What have you learned? What have you been able to walk away with when you walk outside and you find yourself in a very similar situation where you get in an argument with someone over money, over sex, over whatever? How are you going to be able to stop yourself from doing something horrible?
Well, I could, Your Honor, I just will, don't do nothing that will, jeopardize this person or myself. I just continue, just being,
But what happens if you get angry at someone? Someone all of a sudden does something to you that gets you angry. What are you going to do? What tools have you learned, or what sort of things have you learned to be able to control your anger? I mean, you're telling me things that you read, but what is it that you know in your heart that you would do?
well, Your Honor, we'll talk and we'll come up with some type of agreement on, just walk away, just don't get angry, just. Man, it's horrible.
What is the program that sticks out in your mind that was most helpful to you since you've been in prison for these last 37, 38 years?
Anger management, Your Honor, and thanking for a change.
And thanking for a change, what did you learn in that program?
Thanking for a change, I learned victim blaming. I learned victim blaming, I learned empathy. Victim blaming is, that's right, empathy. Victim blaming is when someone, like what I used to do, Your Honor, blame the victim for their own death. And all the time, I'm the one that did the killing. I'm the one killed the victim. The victim did not ask to be killed, Your Honor. That's victim blaming, victim awareness. I learned that in victim awareness.
Let's talk a little bit about your disciplinary record. You've had 42 write-ups. Tell me, your last write-up was in 2004. So tell me, how were you able to control your disciplinary issues?
Well, Your Honor, in 2004, that was my last write-up. It was behind a lateral transfer from the main prison back to Camp D. Freeman, somebody had told me that, the Freeman said that I had said something bad to him about it, and he wrote me up on 21, and they get my lateral transfer back to Camp D. That was in 2004, Your Honor. Okay, 2004, I wound up becoming a trustee. I got my trustee status. I had to work hard for it, Your Honor. I had to stay away from the write-ups, keep my conduct records clean. And then they granted me a trustee status. Then I found my passion in baking. And that would really change me and kept me from getting all the write-ups because I want to better myself and become someone. And I took up baking as my passion. I don't know, y'all might have ate some of my products where we used to send out to Baton Rouge headquarters, hot rolls, crescent rolls, cakes. But that's what I do now. Since 2004, Your Honor, I've been out and changed. I'm not the same person I used to be. I know how to control my anger, my temper. I know how to talk to people, reason with people, and understand people now, Your Honor.
But Mr. Brown, you've accomplished a lot. You have. I mean, you're a trustee, you're talking about 20 years in baking and all of that. I accept all of that. I still have concerns about what you did, how you did it, and perhaps the fact that I'm not convinced it might not happen again. See, I'm very concerned about that. How long did you know Ms. Brown, Ms. Regina, Ms. Regina Jackson? How long did you know her?
For her, we had just met that night in the club.
How about Ms. Brown, Evelina Brown? How long had you known her?
I've been knowing her for like 4 or 5 years, Your Honor.
And so y'all had sex on a number of occasions before?
Yes, Your Honor.
And in this particular night, y'all were arguing over money? Is that what I'm led to believe?
That's correct, Honor. For some reason, where she had got angry. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the drugs or the drink she was drinking or whatever it was. I know she was doing drugs and drinking alcohol. I know that. I've seen her do that before.
Gordon, what can you tell us about Mr. Brown?
I can tell you that he's a minimum age trustee. He has anger management, he has taken 100-hour pre-release. He has a significant medical history that he goes to the doctor on a regular basis for. That's it.
Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. I don't see any other questions, so we'll hear from the folks who are here. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Freeman.
Okay, let me ask you this. You didn't even go check on her to see if she was dead or not, did you?
No, sir.
So you just left the car and
Yes, sir.
according to some of the records, she was probably still alive for a while after she hit her head.
Oh, I didn't know, sir. I had left. I left the scene, John.
And on the other case, y'all got in fights, you had the knife, you choked her till she was limp. Then you went back in and finished the job.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Can we hear from the parole project?
Yes, good afternoon. Kerry Myers with Louisiana Parole Project. Mr. Brown has been incarcerated now for 37 years. Parole Project, as an organization in its model, is designed exactly for someone who has served a significant amount of time. Our program helps people reenter society by giving them the tools that they need, coming back into a world they don't recognize. We will help Mr. Brown with his getting his medical, his financial affairs in order. We'll make sure he has all his documentation. He'll go through numerous programming about social norms. He'll get an evaluation, both mental health and substance abuse evaluation by our social worker. And he will see that social worker on multiple occasions while he's in our program. We will provide him with transitional housing, and we will provide him with all the resources that he needs to find employment assistance, to become self-sufficient. So we just ask that you look at the totality of his record, the fact that he's a Class A trustee. He hasn't had a write-up disciplinary infraction in nearly 20 years. And he's been a model prisoner. So we ask this board to consider all that in their decision today.
All right, thank you, sir. Ms. Kim Hawkins.
My name is Kim Hawkins. I will be brief because the board has my letter of support. I'm here in support of Matthew Brown. First, my heart goes out to the victims and their families. I can say on numerous of visits and phone calls, Matthew has expressed remorse for the crimes he committed. I believe in second chances, and I believe in Matthew. If this honorable board grants Matthew his pardon request, I believe Matthew will show this board and society that he is worthy of a second chance. I thank this board for giving me the opportunity to be here in support of Matthew. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Annette Crittenden. And Ebola.
No,
So I'm gonna stand up. I am
God, they can't see you.
can do it. You can do it.
Oh, so I got to.
Yeah.
Okay, can you see me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
I am Annette Crittenden. I am the baby of 8. Matthew is officially my big brother. He's been there for me with advice almost all of my life, even while he's been in here. I do feel remorse for the families and their loss as well. He's been there for me while he's here through my marriage. He's given me advice. I couldn't get married until Matthew gave the okay. For that, he We did come from a family of struggle, true struggle. And I think some of the decisions that were made by my parents did affect him mentally and emotionally. Of course, in school, I was a brainiac because, of course, I'm number 8. They did everything. I couldn't get away with anything but the books. So I helped him in school. I helped the rest of them in school. But he protected me. Growing up, he walked me home because, of course, in Bogalusa, Louisiana, it's a very small place. He made sure I got home safely. Our family didn't have that much income when he started working. He made sure I got the things they did not supply for him. He has always been there for me. I sometimes laugh, me and my brother laugh at the fact that during Christmas, we would always get chickens and stuff, and Matthew could never kill a chicken for nothing in the world, which kind of made it ironic for what he was arrested for, but that's not the case. When he left, it's been over 30 years. I was just in that stage where he could reach out and really groom me, and it just snatched that part away. But he stayed there regardless, with phone calls, with just talking to me. He calls me regularly. I support him now. I send him money on his book every month. That's there. And if the board would be so generous to grant him leniency, I will be there, and the rest of the family will be there to support him to the very end. Thank you.
And yes, ma'am, thank you. Right, Mr. Brown, is there something you'd like to say before we turn it over to Ms. Myers?
Your Honor, I just want to say thank you all for giving me this chance here.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I need to hear from Mr. Clark first.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Just briefly, this case, as noted, involves 2 very violent, vicious crimes. Murder of 2 women in a shorter period of time, 2 unrelated murders committed, one by a choking and one apparently by blunt force trauma in this case. The nature of these crimes seem to transcend simply anger. As it was noted by the board, the first victim in this case was choked, went limp, placed in the bed, and then choked a second time. It seems to transcend someone just simply being angry. And of course, we have the second murder where the victim was pushed down, was murdered, and Mr. Brown then simply left the scene without any care as to what was, whether or not he could have saved the victim or not. Aside from the fact that we have very vicious crimes here, we further have a lack of responsibility and or really truthfulness to the board. It's been noted that as of October of 2022, Mr. Brown has now changed his statements, as it pertains to the board today. There seems to be a lack of truthfulness and candor on his part. I also took notice of one of the comments that referencing Mr. Brown's arrest as opposed to his conviction. This seems to seems to imply that this conviction was either incorrect and that this was just simply an arrest. I would argue that this seems to be a lack of responsibility or taking responsibility on Mr. Brown's part, especially when it pertains to 2 vicious murders in this case. With that, the state would oppose clemency in this matter.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. All right, Mr. Brown, now I'm sorry, we will take your statement now.
Well, I just wanted to just thank you all, the pardon board and people, for giving me this chance here on this parole board. It's just that, my last parole board, I was, I didn't have this opportunity, and I thank y'all for giving me this opportunity today to be here on this board. And may God bless. Y'all take care. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Ms. Myers.
Thank you. These are very difficult crimes to grapple with, and I believe we've all seen Matthew's limitations on display today. And as we know, this is a very high stress forum for people to express themselves in. These crimes that Matthew committed almost 40 years ago are not crimes that could happen today with the person that he has grown into. For 20 years, he's been demonstrating exactly the type of conduct that warrants release. He is trusted, consistent, and well-liked by officials at Louisiana State Penitentiary. Please, in making this decision, look at Matthew's rehabilitation. In everyday moments outside of the acute stress of this hearing, he's doing the right thing. He is trusted, and he has a vocation that he is passionate and dedicated to. If recommended and ultimately signed, the Parole Project is confident that Matthew will do well under our program and beyond. Someone who has uncontrollable anger issues does not go without a write-up for 19 years. And through 37 years at Louisiana State Penitentiary, there's never been any suggestion that Matthew has treated security with anything less than the utmost respect. And he has been placed in numerous high-pressure situations while incarcerated, as all people who have to complete long sentences are under. And it's now been over 25 years since he had a Rule 21 sex offense. His last write-up in 2004 was not Rule 21, it was a work offense. It's been 19 years that he's been a Class A trustee, working at the ranch house and also in kitchens. Kitchens are a place of trust where knives are and other such things. Since 2004, and when he became a trustee, he has committed himself to the science and art of baking and learned to control that rage that he used to have and process it healthily. And today, when things happen that upset him, he behaves in an appropriate way. Judge Marabella, I hear your concern about the common sexual element in both the offenses. If completing risk management is something that this honorable board deems necessary for Matthew to be ready, that's not something he considered because he wasn't convicted of rape. But if that is something that he needs to complete in order to be recommended for a pardon, that is something that he could do before any signing or parole hearing could happen. So in light of all of his wonderful achievements and the transformation that he has made, he does have limitations, and I pray that you will consider that in what you make your decision today. He's very anxious to continue to improve himself, and I respectfully request that this board consider commuting his sentence to 75 years. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, is the board prepared to vote? Mr. Marabella.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Brown,
Yes, sir.
you've done some substantial things while you've been in prison. You've been a good, while you've been institutionalized, your behavior has conformed. You've done the things that are required of you while you're under supervision.
Yes, sir.
The crimes that you committed are so close together, and the trouble I'm grappling with is that this is more than just anger. I mean, you killed these ladies, you went back, finished the job. It wasn't like you just lost control. It was more than that. And I'm going to be real honest with you. We see this a lot with someone, I don't know what would have happened had you not been caught. You might have killed 2 or 3 other people very similar to this. And it bothers me. It bothers me sincerely. I have not seen sufficient reason to believe this might not happen again. You've done well while you've been in prison, and I commend you for that. Perhaps if you take sex offender treatment program to try to get an understanding of what and why you did what you did, perhaps that might change a person like me's mind. But I asked you, why did you do this? How? I don't know. You have no explanation except you were angry. Well, this is more than just your normal anger issues. You've got a good transition plan. You've got a lot of things in place. But I just have to vote my conscience, and my conscience today is that I don't think you're ready, and I don't think I can vote to recommend commutation. I vote today is to deny.
Mr. Freeman,
Due to the serious nature of the offense and the opposition from the district attorney, I also vote to deny for the same reasons as Mr. Maribel.
Mrs. Jackson.
All right. My vote is the same. I think you do need sex offender treatment. I think you don't really understand, you don't have the insight to understand the crimes. These were two separate unrelated killings on two separate dates. So I think you pose a risk to the community. So my vote will be to deny.
Mr. Rocha.
Mr. Brown, based on the brutal nature of these offenses within days of each other, opposition from the DA's office, strong opposition from law enforcement, and I too think he needs an additional program, especially sex offender treatment. My vote is to deny.
All right, Mr. Brown, you've received 4 votes to deny your application, so your application has been denied. We all have recommended, I join my colleagues in recommending to try to take the, see if they can get you enrolled in the sex offender treatment program. I think that would help you a lot. Should you apply again, you need to have that behind you. Good luck to you, sir.